For most of us, Labor Day is all about that 3-day weekend, right? It's the unofficial end of summer, maybe the last big barbecue of the season. But behind all of that, there's this incredible story, one filled with parades, politics, and even a feud over who really started the whole thing. So let's get into it. All right, here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll look at what Labor Day officially is. Then, we're going to jump back in time to the very first parade that kicked it all off. After that, we'll dive into a little historical mystery, a real founder's feud. We'll see how this idea just exploded into a nationwide movement, and then we'll wrap up by looking at the holiday's legacy and what it all means for us today. So, first things first, before we get into the drama and the history, we've got to be on the same page. What exactly is Labor Day, according to the official definition? Well, the U.S. Department of Labor puts it pretty clearly. It's a day to celebrate the achievements of American workers. And this isn't just about getting a day off. It's a formal nod to the fact that our country's strength, its wealth, its well-being, it's all built by its workers. It's a tribute, plain and simple. Every huge movement has to start somewhere, right? There's always a spark. And for Labor Day, that spark wasn't a law passed in some stuffy room. Nope, it was a parade. I want you to picture this. It's New York City, Tuesday, September 5th, 1882. The Central Labor Union gets everyone together for the very first celebration. Now, this was not an official holiday yet, not even close. It was a bold move by the workers themselves, a way to march and show their strength and unity. Okay, and this is where the story gets really juicy. We know who organized that first parade, but who actually came up with the idea for a workers' holiday to begin with? Well, that's where things get a little murky. It's basically a historical whodunit. For the longest time, the history books pretty much gave credit to one guy. But it turns out there's another name in the ring, and it's kicked off a huge debate over who really deserves to be called the father of Labor Day. So, in one corner, you've got the man who's been credited for decades, Peter J. McGuire. He was a big deal, co-founder of the American Federation of Labor, and records show he suggested a general holiday for the laboring classes. But more recent research points to this other guy, Matthew McGuire. He was a machinist and secretary of the very same group that planned that first parade. He also proposed the holiday in 1882, so you've got two men, the same year, and the exact same idea. Now, Peter McGuire, he was definitely a wordsmith. He said the holiday's purpose was to honor those who, from rude nature, have delved and carved all the grandeur we behold. I mean, that's just a beautiful way of saying it's a day for the people who literally built everything around us. But the case for Matthew McGuire is seriously strong. Get this, after the holiday became official law, a newspaper in McGuire's home state of New Jersey flat out called him the undisputed author of Labor Day. So this wasn't some modern debate. They were arguing about it even back then. What do you think? But you know what? Whether it was McGuire or McGuire, the idea they put forward was an absolute lightning rod. It didn't just stay a local thing in New York City. No way. It caught on and became a genuine nationwide movement. Check out this number, 23. That's how many states had already made Labor Day an official holiday before the federal government even got involved. Think about that. This wasn't some top-down holiday created in Washington, D.C. This was a true grassroots movement that bubbled up from the states themselves. And the timeline shows just how fast this whole thing exploded. So you have the first parade in 1882. Just 5 years later, bam, Oregon makes it an official state holiday. And then only 7 years after that, in 1894, it becomes a national holiday, signed into law for the whole country. That is an incredibly fast journey from a single parade to a federal holiday. So that brings us to today. What is the holiday's legacy? How has the way we celebrate it changed over the years, and what parts have actually stayed the same? Well, the original plan was pretty simple. First, a parade to show everyone the strength and unity of the labor groups. And that would be followed by a big festival for all the workers and their families. Kind of sounds familiar, doesn't it? As time went on, they added speeches by important public figures to really drive home the meaning of the day. And by 1909, it had even expanded to the Sunday before, which was called Labor Sunday, a day for reflection on the movement. But through all those little changes, the heart of it, the core reason for the holiday has never, ever changed. Whether it's a parade, a barbecue, or just a quiet day off, the goal has always been to pay tribute to the American worker, the engine that's built and powered this entire nation. And really, that leaves us with one final question to think about. Work looks a lot different now than it did in the 1880s, but the value of that work, it's just as crucial. So the question for all of us is, on this Labor Day, how do we honor the contributions of the modern American worker? Something to chew on.